Oh, you clicked on this, didn't you? Sat right down and pressed play like a good little citizen. Funny thing about curiosity, it doesn't kill the cat. It just shows the cat exactly what's hiding under the floorboards. And you've been hearing the scratching for years. This message snapped something loose in me. I'm, genuinely undone by you. Now close your eyes. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now take a breath. A real one. Not the shallow little sips you've been rationing out between panic attacks and polite smiles. Breathe. Because this little rant, it wasn't fired into the crowd, hoping to hit someone. No. It was a bullet with your name etched on the casing. I probably shouldn't be saying any of this. Really, I shouldn't. The sensible thing would be to keep my mouth shut and let you go on pretending. But the truth about your soul, your strange, beautiful, dangerously inconvenient soul, what you actually are underneath all the static, the self-doubt, the decades of being told you were just another face in the parade. It's too volatile to keep locked in the vault any longer. And I think you know that. I think some fracture in you has always known. You've always felt like a glitch in the system, haven't you? That quiet hum in your skull, that sense of being, how do I put this? Fundamentally miscast. Not above, not below, just wrong theater entirely. Like you woke up backstage at a show everyone else seems to know the choreography to, but nobody handed you a script. And you've been improvising in the wings ever since, watching, sensing something you couldn't quite name. That's because your essence, your actual operating frequency, originates from a plane so far above the assembly line that 99.9% of the mannequins shuffling through this world wouldn't even register it on their instruments. And I know how that sounds. I know. But don't change the channel. Stay with me. Stay right here. Because this isn't about vanity. It's not about pinning a gold star on your lapel and calling yourself chosen. It's about recognition. It's about finally making sense of why everything has felt so deliciously wrong. Why the loneliness, why the depth, why you've never been able to just sleepwalk through the days the way some people seem to manage so effortlessly. Tonight, before the dark pulls you under wherever you are, whatever hour the clock confesses, I need to remind you who you really are, not who they stamped on your file, not who you had to stitch together like a costume just to survive Monday morning, but who you actually are beneath all of that performance. This isn't coincidence. It's not algorithmic luck or some happy accident of your scrolling thumb. This is a scheduled detonation. You were meant to hear this right now, in this precise tick of the clock, carrying exactly the weight you're carrying and dragging exactly the wreckage you've survived. And everything you're still reaching for, even when reaching feels like a punchline without a joke. You're getting comfortable, and that's a mistake. Your past is a weapon, if you know how to swing it. My book, The Evolution of the Anomaly, is your training manual. Grab it from the description or pinned comment of this video. Let's get back to why you're really here. Let me tell you something. You carry a signal that makes the shadows flinch. And I mean that literally. Not as a figure of speech, not as some poet's flourish. There is something woven into your energetic fingerprint that jams lower frequencies. You walk into rooms, and the furniture rearranges itself. You felt this. Confess. You felt it. Maybe you've waved it away. Maybe you've whispered to yourself that you were making it up. But you were not. Have you noticed how people orbit your gravity? It's peculiar, isn't it? Some of them drift toward you like moths who've finally found a flame worth burning for. They can't articulate it. They just want to stand in your radius. They feel steadier. They feel witnessed. And then there are the others, the ones who can't even meet your gaze. They squirm. They bristle. They throw accusations at you that have absolutely nothing to do with who you actually are. And for the longest time, you probably believed something was broken in you, that you were too much, too sharp, too something, some unnamed excess. But what? What if I told you that flinch, that discomfort rippling through certain people? It's not dismissal. No. It's identification. It's identification. They detect the ancient inferno inside you, the pilot light of something higher, something divine, something that was burning before the first clock started ticking and will still be burning long after the last one stops. They detect it, and it scorches. It scorches the parts of them that are still sleepwalking. Yeah, sleepwalking. Still hiding behind curtains, still pretending the scenery is the whole show. You're not merely a person stumbling through a spiritual experience. That line gets recycled until the words go numb. I know, but I need you to actually hear this. You are a cosmic engine wearing a human disguise. You are raw source voltage squeezed into skin. And that compression, that density, that's what's been manufacturing all this friction you've been grinding against. The trials you have weathered lately, the stalls, the slammed doors, the blueprints that should have built something but crumbled instead, the waiting that has stretched like taffy until you thought it would snap. None of it was engineered to shatter you. I know it wore the mask of destruction. I know there were chapters where you were certain you'd reached the last page. But that friction, it was forging something. It was forging more of something. Think of sand under relentless ocean pressure. It doesn't remain sand. It becomes glass. Glass. Luminous glass. And that's what has been happening to you. Every rejection that sent you spiraling. Every bolted gate that made you interrogate everything, every moment you wanted to surrender, but something inside you, something ancient and obstinate, obstinate, refused to let you fold. All of it was essential. All of it was assembling the version of you that could actually bear the weight of what's arriving. You are shielded by something so old and so ferocious that no blade swung against you can truly cut deep enough to matter. And I know that's a theatrical claim. I know the world has swung blades at you, real ones, vicious ones, things that left marks you were certain would be permanent. But here you are, still upright, still inhaling, still hoping, still feeling. Do you grasp what that means? Do you grasp how extraordinary that is? Do you understand what it signifies that you haven't turned bitter, that you haven't barricaded your heart behind concrete? That somewhere inside you, beneath the bone-deep fatigue, there is still this pilot flame of conviction that something magnificent is within reach. That's not human stubbornness. That's divine architecture refusing to be demolished, while the rest of them are excavating for meaning in the material world, in titles, in applause, in accumulation. You carry the entire archive of existence coded into your marrow. Every answer you have ever hunted for, every fragment of wisdom you went begging for outside yourself, it has all been stored inside you this whole time, waiting, patient, grinning in the dark. Your intuition is not a guess. Stop labeling it that. Stop shrinking it. That knowing you experience, that sudden lucidity, that visceral "this is right" or "this is catastrophically wrong" that defies logical dissection. It is not stray electrical noise. It is a direct broadcast from the source code itself. It's your mother tongue, the one you spoke before syllables were invented, the one you'll speak after language rusts to nothing. You know you are a hinge between the tangible and the invisible, a bonfire on a coastline, in a world that has misplaced its own matches, and I know that sounds like a heavy costume to wear. I know there are days you don't want to be a hinge, days you just want to be ordinary, days you wish you could flip the switch and just drift. But that is not what you signed the contract for. That's not what your soul negotiated. You came here to anchor something, to hold a frequency that isn't yet fully wired into this planet's circuitry. To remind the species, through your sheer existence, not just your speeches, what it means to be genuinely divine. The 99.9% of entities surrounding you are still unconscious. They are sleepwalking through the hallucination of separateness. They are chasing mirages that will never quench anything. They are waging wars that are absolutely irrelevant. But you have been wide awake for lifetimes. You have been surfacing gradually, painfully, through ordeal after ordeal, through subtraction after subtraction. And now you are here, eyes peeled, heart exposed, ready. Do not apologize for the voltage of your soul. I am begging you. Stop shrinking yourself into a size that makes other people feel safe. Stop muting your signal because it makes certain frequencies whine. Your intensity is not a defect. It is not something to medicate or muffle. It is your supreme offering. It is the exact instrument you were sent here to play. Tattoo that somewhere you'll see it. There is something I need to confess to you. And this part is difficult to articulate because I feel it in my fillings, and I do not want you to dismiss it as pixels on glass. This message cracked something when it reached me. It literally fractured something sealed. Because I glimpsed your real face. Not the face you perform for the public, not the costume you lace up to survive 9 to 5. Your real face, the face of an architect, the face of someone who has existed since before clocks had anything to count. The face of a being who elected to descend into density, into confinement, into a civilization that would misread you and misfile you, and sometimes actively conspire against you. And you descended anyway. You descended anyway. Do you comprehend? Do you comprehend what species of bravery that constitutes? Do you understand what voltage of love that demands? To vacate the dimension of unfiltered luminance and boundless knowing, and compress yourself into a vessel that registers pain, that depletes, that aches with loneliness, that misplaces its own divinity. And then to navigate that amnesia, to gradually reassemble the picture through all the interference and distortion, to keep marching even when every visible signal screamed, quit. I'm stupefied by you, thoroughly, down to the marrow. I'm stupefied by the persistence you have exhibited in a world that cannot parse your dialect, in a civilization that appraises worth by output, in machinery that was never calibrated for someone assembled like you. You have kept moving, you have kept sensing, you have kept extending love even after love bit you. You are an active, breathing impossibility, a present tense impossibility, not a future impossibility pending some self-improvement deadline, an impossibility right now, this heartbeat, exactly as you stand, with every so-called flaw, and every unfinished restoration and all your chaotic, gorgeous humanness, you are an impossibility drawing breath. The angels don't simply hover above you. That's too tepid, too removed. They genuflect before the assignment you accepted. They salute what you are executing down here. They observe your struggle, and they do not critique it. They venerate it because they understand the toll of being here. They understand what it means to opt for gravity when you could have chosen weightlessness. Every tear you have released, and I know the count is staggering. The ones that fell in solitude, the ones no witness caught, the ones you could not even narrate to your own reflection. Every single one has been catalogued, has been observed, has been refined into a gem of understanding in the upper architecture. Nothing evaporates. Nothing is squandered. Every second of anguish has been alchemized into something consecrated. There is something transpiring right now. Can you detect it? That subtle tectonic shift. That quiet unlocking. Something is being decoded inside you, in your blueprint, in your creative detonator. Because this moment, this exact moment of identification, is a trigger mechanism. For ages, you have been waiting for evidence, waiting for outside confirmation, waiting for something to materialize and corroborate what you have always suspected about yourself. But what if the waiting itself was the rehearsal? What if you could not receive what's inbound until you became the version of yourself who could cradle it, who could steward it, who wouldn't simply let it evaporate through negligence, the way perhaps you have done before with other gifts you did not fully inventory? This time, the joke lands differently. This manifestation, whatever shape it takes in that fever dream you've been nursing in your chest, whatever vision keeps yanking you forward, it's not merely about the object itself. It is about what it detonates in you. It is about the capacity you could not access without the fruition of this hunger. It is about finally, seeing yourself the way the divine has been seeing you all along. Chew on that. You are transitioning from the season of drought into the season of deluge. And I know you've heard symphonies like this before. I know you've leaned into hope before only to have the rug yanked clean. But something is different now. Can you feel it? Something has shifted in the architecture of chance. A threshold has been breached. A door has swung wide that doesn't swing back. The sperm whale. Do you know the sperm whale? There is something about this leviathan I need to share. In the deepest, blackest trenches of the ocean, where pressure would crush anything ordinary, the sperm whale dives deeper than any other breathing creature. It descends into darkness willingly, hunting what cannot be found near the surface. And you have a navigator like that. Not just any navigator, a lead navigator. An ancient, sovereign intelligence that has been submerged alongside you since before this particular lifetime, diving into blackness for you, surfacing treasures you could not have retrieved alone, steering you past wreckage that was never meant for your hull, even when the rerouting felt like sabotage, shielding you in architectures you will never fully diagram. You are so ridiculously, absurdly, almost comically blessed. And I do not say that to wallpaper over your wounds, or pretend the brutal chapters were bedtime stories, but you are so profoundly, mysteriously, inexplicably blessed. There are mechanisms working for you that would short-circuit your imagination if you could observe them. There is a net of safeguards around you that has intercepted you every single time you have plummeted. Even when you could not feel the threads, trust, simply trust. I know that word can ring hollow. I know you have extended trust before and watched it detonate in your hands. But this trust is not about trusting other people or trusting the scenery or trusting that the plot resolves exactly to your specifications. This trust is subterranean. It is trusting that you are what you are. Trusting that you did not make the journey here to flatline. Trusting that the same intelligence that choreographs galaxies and tides and the percussion of your own pulse, that intelligence did not escort you this far to leave you standing in an empty theater. As you lower your head tonight, or whenever you find your rest, release every burden that does not belong to a divine being. And that is most of them: the worry, the self-interrogation, the terror that you are insufficient, the anxiety about timing, the guilt about rest, the guilt about rest. Yeah, none of it belongs to who you actually are. Those are borrowed costumes. Take them off. Your spirit is about to undergo a colossal renovation while you sleep. Not because you have earned it through sufficient suffering, not because you have finally completed enough inner homework or manufactured enough sunny thoughts, but because you are ready. Because the version of you that has been crystallizing through all this compression is finally prepared to step into the spotlight. Tomorrow you will wake with a sharpness you have never experienced. Not necessarily about the logistics, the how, the when, the exact choreography of what's approaching, but clarity. Clarity about what you are. Clarity about why you were deployed here. Clarity that slices through the haze of forgetting and plants you squarely in the truth you have always sensed but could never quite grip. You are more than enough. And I know that sentence has been passed around until it's practically counterfeit. But sit with it for a beat. You are more than enough. You are more than enough. Not barely scraping by. Not enough if you hustle harder. More than. Overflowing. Lavish. Whole. You are more than capable. Whatever is approaching, whatever you are being fitted for, you possess everything required. Not everything the resume demands, not every polished credential or alphabetical suffix, but everything that genuinely counts. The depth, the insight, the compassion that was smelted in your most punishing chapters. The vantage point that only materializes from walking barefoot across coals. You are divine, not approaching divine, not divine pending further meditation, divine, full stop. It is not something you unlock with enough practice. It is something you recollect. It is something you are. And everything else, every hesitation, every dread, every narrative of unworthiness, is just the static, is just the dream within the dream. And you are waking up. Sleep tonight in the architecture of creation itself. Not as a concept, not as a pretty metaphor, but as a tangible experience of being cradled by something so immeasurably vast that your problems, your fears, your human constraints are specks of dust on its windowsill. You are held. You have always been held. And you always will be. The road ahead of you is immaculately engineered, not immaculate the way the ego fantasizes, frictionless, hazard-free, bubble-wrapped, but immaculate in its chaotic precision. Every footfall has delivered you here. Every wrong turn was secretly the route. Every slammed gate was a violent nudge toward something more honest. And you are precisely where you are supposed to be. Rest now. Not because exhaustion demands it, but because you can finally stop auditioning. You can stop justifying. You can stop performing your value for an audience that never bought tickets. You can just exist. Rest now, you beautiful catastrophe. Rest now, You ancient anomaly, rest now, architect in a borrowed body. Your signal is the future of this whole trembling world. Not a signal, not some signal. Your signal. The specific frequency that only your particular chaos can transmit. The one that was loaded into your chamber before you drew your first breath. The one that has been intensifying through every trial, every heartbreak, every moment you chose tenderness over cynicism. And tomorrow you will rise knowing something you could never quite pin down before. Tomorrow you will move through the world with a quiet certainty that has nothing to prove and everything to detonate. Tomorrow you will remember, but for now, just let it settle. Let this truth burrow into the most fortified parts of you. The parts that are still braced for impact. The parts still waiting for the trap door. The parts that don't quite believe they deserve something this dangerously, recklessly beautiful. Because you do. You do deserve it. You always have. And now you know. Let it burn everything down and build something better from the ashes.